think our guest today has some beer on the way to us for testing.
Cool.
I gave her your address.
Cool.
Let's see here. All right. Just camera angle. There we go.
I'm about to do that brick wallpaper in my office.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The paper or the board?
Paper.
Cool.
That's what you said. Where'd you get that?
Home Depot.
Oh, I'll have to go check that out. That might be a better option.
Before this supply chain, it was $20. It's like $20 a sheet.
Oh, okay.
That was last summer when I got it.
Yeah. I think it just dropped again. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think somebody said lumber went down 40% last week. So.
Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I actually end up getting like 8 sheets of this stuff, but I didn't have to use. I think I only used about 6.5.
Cool.
So,
all right. Let's roll.
We're ready. We go 3, 2, and 1. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean, today we're going to be discussing something known as FOMO. FOMO. I love that. It just rolls off the tongue so well.
Yeah, FOMO. I'm sure everybody knows what that means, but I guess we can. If not, you'll just have to listen. Just wait.
That's right. That's right. We're not going to tell you right now. We have a great guest who's going to be joining us shortly. She is a copywriter. She's a digital marketer. She has her own agency, and she works with some really cool brands, including craft beer brands. So
there you go.
Talking about some of her work. Yeah. Anytime you mention that, that's like
living the dream. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
It's almost as good as having a podcast and drinking beer while you're doing it.
That's right. That's right. We are living the dream every Friday to be able to talk to guests like this.
Yes.
All right. So I don't know. I think she actually does have a beverage. So should we introduce her? Because she is waiting in the green room.
She is. Hold up your beverage if you have one. Megan, looks like you nodded your head. There you go.
Yes. All right.
She does have one, so we might as well.
That's like the key to open up the green room right there. Whenever our guest holds up a beverage.
Yes.
Let's see here. All right, here we go. We have Megan, and I hope I'm pronouncing this because there's a German, because my wife, she's part German, so it's gold. I'm gonna say this is Goldwasser. Goldwasser. It could be Goldwasser, but she will correct us. I'm gonna give her a little introduction here. She is, as I mentioned earlier, she's a copywriter, digital marketer, and she is the founder of York Street Creative. I like that name. Her passions and portfolio include storytelling, photography, videography, internal, external communications, graphic design, all sorts of things, social media, branding. Her interest and expertise occupy a diverse space. She works a lot. Like I said, some of her clients, they're kind of range from breweries to eateries to fashion startups. So she's going to be sharing a little bit about her background. I'm excited to hear. And with that said, let me get back to the screen here. Megan, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Well, we got to give you a round of applause.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Another interesting tidbit, and I forgot to mention this with Sean. He's got our little ticker scrolling down at the bottom. I love
We're getting fancy around here.
We are. So, Megan, I noticed and I found this off of your LinkedIn page. You are a graduate of the University of Georgia.
What?
I am. What? Yes, I am a proud graduate.
Oh.
So if I'd have known that early enough, I would have had the glory. What is it? The fight song queued up, because Sean and I both root for the dogs during football season. So
excellent, as you should, as should everyone. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on with us today. You held up a beverage. I'm assuming that beverage is a craft beer.
It is a craft beer. It is.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I updated our ticker in case you didn't know.
Yeah. No, I'm thrilled to be able to do a client plug here too. Getting to work with a craft brewery really is living the dream. And you'll see me try this for the first time, which is very exciting. This is called, it's fun. I got to name it, which is also really fun. It's called a flat white. And I'm calling it a summer porter, but really it is a blonde ale. It's a nitro blonde ale. So I am excited to try it. It is it's 5%.
I mean, to get to name a beer, like that is the pinnacle of success, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. I mean, that just seems like, other than a nice fee for naming it, you probably want that as well, but that's pretty cool that you got to name a beer. So, well,
you get to rate it too on our show. So you say this is the first time, right?
It is. It's the first time. So I'm excited. Hopefully it's not terrible. That would be awkward. So we'll,
So you didn't taste it before you named it?
That's a great question. So I know, isn't it weird? I know we market these things and come out with the script well before the beers are finalized. So that is why. So you're going to see me try it. I get all the ingredients. I have a chat with the guys who make it ahead of time. So I have some idea.
So it's kind of like writing there's a couple copywriters, I think, I can't remember who it was, told me this, but Ted, what's his name? Old guy. Dead guy, I think, actually now. But anyway, he always talked about
guy.
Yeah, dead Ted. He always talked about writing the order form first, so that you knew exactly what you were writing towards, instead of saving the order form for last when you were all out of energy and everything else. So I guess that's kind of what you did. You kind of named it first, so you could write towards and build towards the name. But
exactly.
Do you get any creative input on the design?
I do, and I don't design them myself, but I do get to work with designers who are so talented, and that's fun too. Getting to go back and forth with them about, all right, here's the vision, and here's what the brewers are thinking, and here's what inspired them, and we want a giant spaceman holding a flag, and on Saturn, and we're calling it Space Trip, and it's a blast.
That's awesome.
Really, because that's a huge part of selecting a beer, especially one that you don't know a whole lot of. Sean and I talk about this a lot. Sometimes we pull things off the shelf based on the design, right? It's like, oh, that looks cool.
Sure. Our most one of the more recent beers that we came up with, we knew we needed to come out with something for 4th of July. It's a 6-pack. We want it to be fun. It's a lager, and we named it Murica. I got to name it. So apostrophe, all capitals, Murica. And it is a bald eagle with a mullet with some good looking sunglasses and a bandana. And it's just that big old American flag wrapped all the way around it. And it's gone. So,
I'm sure. I'm sure.
That's awesome.
I did okay. Yeah.
All right. Who's going first?
Oh,
we got to let our guests go first.
Absolutely. Ladies first.
Megan, correct me on my pronunciation of your last name. Was it Wasser? Is it a V?
Wasser. It is Goldwasser. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I appreciate the cultural appreciation, though. That's very nice. Thank you. My husband will appreciate it, really.
Is he German? Does he come from German roots?
Yes. Well, German Jewish. It's really more of a Jewish last name, but yes, of German descent. Yes.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
So show us your beer and tell us a little bit about it.
I jumped the gun here with the description, but this is the label that we worked on. That was just so much fun to do, and it's metallic. You can't really see it in there, but it's a flat white. It's a nitro blonde ale, and it's supposed to be kind of a refreshing summer stout. So I hope it's good. You're gonna watch me.
What's the IB? So you can't drink it yet. We got a toast and everything first. So you gotta. So give us what is IBUs, ABV? Give us a little.
Yeah. So it's a 5%er, and I wrote the description, so I'll give you some insight into that too. The flat white blonde ale. It's like the coffee drink, but better. Brewed with barrel aged coffee and vanilla, and infused with honey, blonde, and cold brew. You can't get bored drinking this beer.
I like it.
Thank you.
That's right up our alley. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. If it's good, we hope it's in one of the assortments that.
What's the company? The brewing company?
Back Bay Brewing Co.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I looked them up. They are not in Texas. So.
I know. So sorry.
That's North Carolina, right?
We are in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Virginia.
But we distribute all the way down to Florida and up to Maryland. But East Coast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right,
Sean. What do you got?
Well, I've got a chocolate cherry Yeti Imperial Stout. So it's a Yeti pulling a thing of cherries. So this is a 9.
Say, can they use that name? I guess they can. I mean, because a Yeti.
Well, because Yeti's a thing. It's not actually.
That's right. Exactly.
And I assume the font would have to be different than Yeti coolers and stuff like that. But,
right.
So this is from Great Divide Brewing Company out of Denver, Colorado. This is part of the they got me with the gift set and the free glass. Set. So this is one of those. Chocolate Cherry Yeti is another decadent offering in our revered Yeti series. We've tweaked the top bitterness for this special release and then added sweet and sour cherries and cacao. The roasty malt backbone of Yeti melts perfectly with the cherries and cacao to make this one smooth sipper. A Yeti in a cherry orchard can be a great thing. So there you go.
Do you feel like decadent is overused in beer copy? Because I see it all the time.
It's funny you should say that. There are a handful of buzzwords that our brewers in particular are just sick of. And decadent. Maybe not something I would use.
Sure.
But I can see that being used too often.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what's there's another one here that was I don't remember. Yeah, decadent roasty is another one, which I know is kind of a description, but it is roasty, malty, all those things could be.
Yeah. Some of those you just start to tune out over time because you read so much of that. So I'm sure you always got to be coming up with new stuff there.
Yeah. It's fun. You know how that goes.
It is.
It's a fun exercise.
All right, Jonathan, what you got over there?
Okay, I've got a Samuel Smith and Taddy Porter. This is the Old Brewery Tadcaster. So I've had a Samuel Smith, one of their chocolate porters on before.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is the famous Taddy Porter brewed with. Now listen to this. This is I don't know how great this copy is, but it's brewed with well water. It says the original well at the old brewery sunk in 1758 and is still in use with hard well water being drawn from 85 feet underground. So that's pretty cool.
It's not a very deep well, actually. That's a pretty shallow well. Anyway.
Okay, well, 85 feet. So you're thinking about 85 feet. Yeah, that's really not that. It's not that deep.
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you are. Like here, they got to go pretty deep for water, but
maybe in England, it's a little different. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's see: malted barley, roasted malt, yeast, and hops fermented in stone Yorkshire squares. Does anybody know what a Yorkshire square is?
Nope.
Not a clue.
Is that like a location? Sounds like a location to me. I don't know.
Probably so. So. Let's see. Ingredients, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. What is this? Oh, it's only 5% ABV. Man.
Wow. That's a fancy bottle for a 5% beer.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed.
Seems like a waste of gold foil to me. I don't know.
It is.
I mean, I think Modella's probably got higher content than that.
Yep. Again, they fool you with the packaging. I mean, that's where it starts. So,
yeah. All right.
All right. Well, we have our toast. So cheers.
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 And you know what? I forgot to even pour mine. So I got this fancy glass. I didn't even pour it.
You were following Megan's lead and just straight out the can. I like it.
So look at that, Megan. Look at that fancy glass. and it's pretty dark. So
Yeah.
oh wow, there is like no head on that, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's
Wow.
Oh wait, hold up that glass again. I've got to see that.
it says hate. I
Oh,
believe.
nice.
Bigfoot. All right.
That's great merch too. That's a good conversation starter. Love that.
Yeah, I love the glasses in a like a beer kit or liquor. Like I'm always a sucker for those. Like the Jack Daniels is not the best bourbon, but they always have a gift set with their glasses and stuff.
Absolutely.
So sorry.
Oh, that's
okay. I thought that was us for
No.
podcast foul.
So sorry. I know. I'm so sorry.
You have a boo on there, Jonathan, on your soundboard.
All right. So moment of truth. What is so you got to name this. You get to rate it now. So
I do. And it's
only 5 pints.
5 pints. Okay.
5 being the best.
You know, I am pleasantly surprised. I was worried it was going to be too heavy. You know, summer stout just sounds like it's still heavy.
Right.
It's not. It's light and refreshing, but you get that coffee without too much bitterness. It's pretty good. Gosh, I'm going to give it a.
You can do decimals too.
Oh, okay, good. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Nice.
Wow. All
Pretty
right.
good.
That's solid.
Pretty good.
It's like an A. That's borderline. It's not an A plus, but that's an A.
It is. It feels it feels like the copy got it close too. I'm patting myself on the back a little bit with that 4.5. I felt like I communicated it okay. It's pretty good.
So let's just hypothetically speaking, if this had gone south, like you tasted it, and you had this like bitter face, would that have caused you to change the like maybe modify the copy a little bit?
Oh gosh. Well, for next time. Oh yeah, steer clear of this one. It's not as good as you think. That's a great question.
Hey, I mean,
well, you don't have to make it sound bad, but you could like, maybe you could use some.
Well, Jägermeister, that's their thing, right? They talk about how bad it is. That's the whole shtick of Jägermeister.
Yep. Like
how bad it is, how awful it tastes.
I'm such a sucker for that too. I think that marketing is so funny. You give me a pun or something that's contrary, and I'm there. I think it's hilarious. Yeah,
I mean, it's the Achilles heel kind of method there to show your weakness and capitalize on it. So, all right, I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
So this of the ones I've had so far, this is the best, and it's not as like sweet, which makes sense. It's only 9.5% instead of, I think the others were around 12. So I'm gonna give this a 4.25.
4.25.
Yeah, very solid. That's good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what I would it's more what I would expect for like an imperial stout.
Mm-hmm.
Not so when they get too high up in the alcohol, they start getting like cough syrup.
Yep.
So this is the perfect balance. Does have a little cherry flavor. It's definitely not a summer beer, but it's like winter here in Austin. Like it's like 78 and raining. It's like winter here. Like it's
wow.
Maybe not that cool, but maybe 80. I don't know.
Perfect day for a stout. A surprise stout day in the middle of summer.
That's right. All right, so I'm going to give this one the Tatty Porter. So I kind of cheated. I went ahead. I looked over at Beer Advocate. They give it a 93 rating. So maybe that influences me a little bit.
Well, it does. Anytime a high number is going to influence you. We've talked about this on the show.
I know. See, I accidentally stumbled across it because I was just trying to find some information on it, and I see that score. But I'm going to give this. I mean, it's okay. I'm gonna play like I've never seen that and just try to be neutral, which I'm not. But I'll give it I'm going to give it a 4, probably 4.1. That sounds like a reasonable score for this one. It's not. I mean, it's less on the ABVs than I thought, so a little disappointed there. But it's got the aftertaste isn't great, but it's okay. Nothing special.
Yeah,
I probably actually gave it a higher rating than I should have. It probably deserves about a 3.5.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. That dang framing and anchoring worked again, man.
That's right. So I'm giving it a 3.5. I'm changing my score. 3.5. 3.5.
Don't bow to the pressure.
Beer Advocate, you're not going to influence me. Okay.
Dang neuroscience. All right.
All right, Megan. Well, thank you for coming on. Why don't you, before we get started, before we get into the topic of fear, we kind of teased it. FOMO, Sean. What is FOMO?
I was trying to come up with a clever, funny acronym, but I can't on the fly. Should have had that prepared. Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. We've heard a lot about that in real estate lately, but it's gone crazy. Yeah. But you've been using this in your marketing. But before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about your background? What got you into copywriting, digital marketing, and ultimately starting your own business?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And whenever anybody asks me
why,
yeah, right. And I really need to work on my elevator pitch because most of the time it's depends on the day, which is how fun. I love that I get to say that. But I went to the University of Georgia where I studied at their journalism school, and I learned I did not want to be a journalist and wanted to pursue writing instead. I love copy and I love just the art of writing. And it's funny because I'm dyslexic. So, reading copy is sometimes challenging and, checking for, spelling mistakes. I don't know what I would do without spell check, but went to school for it, learned how to write more effectively and networked and knew that I wanted to do something in the wheelhouse of professional copywriting and, got linked up.
So let me back up there. So you actually went to school for copywriting.
I did.
That is awesome. They didn't have that. At least I didn't know about it when I was in school. That would have probably saved me a lot of headaches. But anyway, that's cool. Because I know it used to be like if you wanted to be a copywriter, you had to go to like Chicago or New York.
Yeah.
And there weren't many places that taught it, but it's cool to hear that more and more places are now teaching it. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really was an awesome experience. I loved college. I had so much fun and the classes were great. And I really did get so much out of it, which not everybody says, but I'm actually using my degree, which is fantastic. So I had that experience and was really hungry for the work in college and found some opportunities where I started writing for the Mars company. You might have heard of them. They make M&Ms and Snickers, but they also make pet food and they also own Wrigley gum and they make all kinds of things. And it's great. They're expanding their portfolio right now. And they were when I was at college. And so they needed someone to do all kinds of writing for them. And I got to, which was just so much fun. And that led to more writing, ghost writing specifically, which is my favorite. I love writing for people. And I actually still do this project. I've been doing it for years. I ghost write a banquet for the CEO of Children's Hospital of Atlanta. So I got to experience that and interview 85 nurses in a handful of months and write copy about how wonderful and great they are and, get to hand it over to the CEO to present. That was a moment, the first time that happened. And I loved it. It's just so gratifying, being able to write copy that other people get to hear and that communicate value or that, evoke emotion is just, that's incredible. And it's a blast. But I pivoted and started working in the nonprofit space. So I worked for a small private school here in Virginia Beach for several years. And it was, again, a blast. Just so much fun. You get to, wrangle high schoolers at the same time you're taking pictures of them and you're, promoting the school and, promoting education's great. It was so much fun. And that's kind of where I decided that I wanted to go out on my own only because I loved wearing all those hats. I loved being able to be the photographer and the videographer and the person who was doing social media and, was writing our annual report and, kind of being a spokesperson for the school too sometimes. I think that was a blast. And I realized, hey, I could do this for lots of people. I don't just have to do this in education and, I can be more flexible. I'm a mom, so having a toddler, having that kind of flexibility is also such a virtue that I couldn't say no. So last year, among the wildness of 2020, my husband is in the Navy and he was deployed and I'm home with the babe and I'm thinking, okay, What are we doing? Where are we going? Am I
Right.
really going to do this? And I did, and it was great, and it's been super advantageous. I think, especially among all the craziness of 2020, so many big corporations decided to move away from bigger agencies and move to the smaller guys because we're cheaper, and it worked.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Well, that's your fault. You're cheaper. That's not
exactly.
We should have a separate conversation about that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe I need to go back and look at that.
You just want to be more nimble. You want to be more
Yes.
nimble, not cheaper. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm more competitive. We're gonna go with that.
There you go.
I'm more competitive. So it worked out great. It's been, I'm a year in, year and change into full-time
Sure.
with my own company.
Mhm.
And it's great. I've got to hire content creators for social media. I run marketing for a former Navy SEAL who's a life coach now and does executive coaching and has written his own guided journal. And he's a blast to work with. And I get to work with fashion startups and big corporate and healthcare and breweries, and it's really fun.
I'm the Navy SEAL. Can you don't have to mention his name, but
he would love it. I'm happy to mention it.
We've had a guy that's a Navy SEAL that's kind of doing a lot of coaching now, but it may not be the same guy.
Cool.
But,
it's Dan Luna.
okay, not the same guy, but that name sounds familiar. Dan Luna.
Okay. Well, he's worth looking into.
Okay.
Dan's an impressive guy. You should check out his social media.
Sounds like one of those names. It's just like one of those. It's just a simple name. Like it's something about it, the rhythm of it, or something.
Dan Luna.
Dan Luna.
It
Sounds like it's like a little familiar, but not quite. Unique but familiar. I like it.
It's fun to market.
Very cool.
I bet.
So of all your clients, what's the best? What do you have the most fun with in terms of copywriting and doing marketing work for?
That's a pretty easy answer. Don't tell the rest of them, but the craft beer business is a blast. It is just so much fun, and getting to write this copy, and it is a fast-paced environment. We are constantly doing something new. We come out with a new beer every week, sometimes every 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
And it is quick, and you have to be ready.
Yeah. So how much copy is there? Like there's only so much copy on a can. I mean, is this similar to like catalog copy where it's a lot of 50 words and less type copy?
No, it's a good question. It is. It's quick and it's short usually. So all of the descriptions for all of the beers is something that falls under my domain, naming them, but also website copy. The brewery the client of mine is actually its own beverage company, and they're starting their own umbrella company. And so I am also in charge of their website, all of that copy and all the marketing that goes into it. All the descriptions that I write to that are longer go up on social media. So anything that is forward facing that looks like website or or on the can is me.
So Back Bay Brewing, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go check out your copy while you're
oh talking. Gosh. Well, and it's funny I say that. So I'm writing their new website that doesn't have copy up on it yet because we're going through the editing process, and a lot of the copy on their current stuff I didn't write. So I've been in their space less than a year. And that was a nice out.
That was a nice out.
Right. I know. Please don't. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I've been with them for less than a year. And so haven't gotten to do as much of that, but I'm looking forward to it.
So we have on our listeners, we have people that are in sales. We have people that are copywriters. We have marketers, things like that. Specifically for the copywriters, because we have a lot of people who are either aspiring or kind of maybe they're dabbling part-time. Some of them are full-time. It would be easy to think that there's not a lot of copy needed in like a little niche, which is no longer a little niche, but like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of copy, but like, talk a little bit about like just how much copy is required, because it's everywhere. And I think people overlook it.
Yeah.
And how important it is, whether you own a business, whether you're trying to be a copywriter or you are a copywriter. the opportunity is, I mean, speak to that a little bit, and then we'll get into the FOMO stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that no one talks about and no one thinks about. How often you read something that inspires you to purchase it or inspires you to keep reading, which is what we want. It is everywhere, and it is nuanced, and it has to be. And I think the reason people probably don't know is that there are good copywriters out there who write copy that you don't think about, and you're not thinking you're reading something. So with the brewery, I've talked to, it's the labels, it's the website, it's social media, it's everywhere. We write, it's press releases behind the scenes that need to be written well. Even down to emails and newsletter copy. I do a lot of newsletter writing, and that has to, that's a very specific kind of copywriting that has to, do well. And so in that is a full-time job at a place like a brewery. Some of my other clients, my fashion, the fashion startup that I'm helping out, every piece of their website, every segment, everything needs a description. There are Q&A portions of their website that need to be written meticulously so that it's easy to read. Even captions on some of their videos. Everything has copy on it. And so copywriters are coveted. And I think people don't realize that as much as they should.
Yeah. And I think also it's important for like marketers and business owners to understand that even something as simple as captions could be better with quality copy.
Yeah.
It seems like something you could just throw away, but
Right.
captions are one of the most read pieces of copy because they're under a image, like an Instagram. Those first 2 lines on your Instagram post are pretty important because that's either going to get them to read more or just scroll on.
Sure.
Obviously the image is important too, and then we're getting into video and all that stuff. But so you write video scripts as well? Speaking of video,
it's a good question. Sort of, kinda. We'll go with yes. I've done it in a nonprofit space that I have to remind myself sometimes that even though it is, on a shoestring budget, it's still a video script. It's still something that I got to write. Actually, funny enough, I finished up a commercial shoot today with Mark Leishman, the golfer. And he was a delight. And, we're coming up with copy for him on the spot. We're placing ads on the Golf Channel while he's in the Olympics. He has a beer through Back Bay Brewing called Leishman's that supports a foundation that he created called Begin Again. But going back to, I wanted to say, for the aspiring copywriters or the amateurs who want to dig into it a little bit, my first few jobs were going to people's websites and getting in contact with them about how bad the copy sounded. I think it is such a great selling point to get in touch with someone and say, hey, I was picking through your website, love what you have going on. I'd love to help you communicate that a little bit more effectively. I think that
you have to be careful because you don't know who wrote it, right? It may be the person you're talking to. You got to use tact.
Yes.
Don't rush in with this sucks. That's probably not the best.
Yeah.
You got to use copy for that email as well.
No shaming there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
I think.
But like you said, there's a tactful way to say, listen, here's some things that I noticed, specific things that you
Here's
can
how I would
on.
how I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which I think is how Dan Kennedy got started. Like he just went and ripped off ads that he thought he could do better, and he rewrote them, and he's like, here's what you have, here's what I would do. Which you like better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And started his whole career.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of like people with new brand alcohol brands, I don't know if you know Jonathan, but our previous guest, Phil K.M. Jones, whichever one it was, he started a new whiskey or bourbon brand.
Really?
So we may have to introduce you, Megan, to Phil.
Yeah.
Please do. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
That sounds like fun.
Get you into some harder stuff here.
That sounds great.
Move on to liquor here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he started his own bourbon brand. He's kind of pushing it right now on Instagram. So I thought it was kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we may have to have him back on with his.
Yeah.
See if he can ship us some bourbon.
Do you Megan? Are you familiar with the Pete's Wicked Ale?
No, I'm not.
Back in the day. Okay. So it's no
Yeah.
longer, we had the original founder of that, like, I mean, that goes back to the 80s where
Yeah.
this guy, he was like one of the original, like
It was
before
like the
craft. Yeah, it was like before craft brewing started. I mean, he was one of the original craft brewers in the industry.
Yeah.
And
That'd be a good podcast for you to listen to.
Yeah.
We'll have to
I
send
will go
you,
back.
we'll
I
have
got
to
some
send you a
homework.
link to that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let's transition over here to FOMO, because you send us in your reply to our request, our desperate plea for content for our podcast. You're like, we could talk about FOMO. And I don't remember exactly what you said. So why don't you set it up, Megan, while we continue to drink?
Deal.
And you just kind of set up FOMO and what you would like to tell the people.
Yeah.
They're eager to hear about this.
Perfect. I mean, I'd love to share because there's plenty to go around, especially after this last year. I know I've touched on that already. So many of us were cooped up for so long, and even those of us who weren't, there weren't events going on. There was nothing to do. Everybody was home, and so that feeling, that fear, it's a deep fear of missing out on what is happening, has really come in handy. In the last few months for us. So Back Bay we have a tap room. We have two of them in the area. And one is this beautiful, it's on a farm. It's a beautiful big home that used to be a private residence. And we have big events, and it is very easy to capitalize on the fact that people don't want to miss out by just handing them what we're doing. Sure. So, hey, Lagerfest is coming up. We're thrilled. We're going to have several people here with lots of different beers, and mentioning that there are going to be plenty of people there is something that gets plenty of people in the door. So knowing that it is going to be a larger event and the weather's going to be nice is marketing enough. Praying to the weather gods is part of my strategy. So far so good. But backing up a little bit, I feel like the craft beer sphere in general, it's the cool kids club. I feel like, there is this very, cool in the know vibe about craft beer drinkers and pursuers. And people want to be like that. People want to have that experience, and they want to try something new. And so marketing to those people can be tough. I think an overt call to action in a newsletter or in copy, come out, join us. This giant be here doesn't work. It doesn't work with these people. It's a little bit more having that air of mystique is really effective, and kind of laying the breadcrumbs for these craft beer lovers and saying, okay, we've got this cool new beer. It's got a great new label. No one's ever tried it. You should come be a part of this event.
Right.
And people flock. I mean, we have thousands of people come and try these beers, and we have our beers on pre-sale on Wednesdays, and people can come pick them up on Fridays. And we have, especially in 2020, we had lines, around the block for people to just pick up a 4-pack. So in line with the events, the constant, cranking out of new fun stuff, and we're not making a lot of it, is something that people don't want to miss out on. So
some of these are some of these beers limited, like seasonal or limited editions that you're only making so many of, and then that's it?
Yeah, and most of them are. Okay, so here's our website. So this kind of gives you an idea, but a majority of our beers are a one-time deal, or maybe we'll bring them back next year for, a month. But, most of the things that we produce, we might make, I'm trying to come up with a good example, a recent example, but, we might only make 60 cases of something. And if there are 24 beers in a case. So that gives you an idea. If we have a large event and we put out those 60 cases, they're gone in a weekend. And that's it. So, we also have this exclusivity to our product. People know it's not coming back, and it might be a super cool label with a bald eagle with a mullet on it. Who doesn't want that at their house? So, we kind of create this air of fun, and, it's here while it lasts, but it's gonna get gone fast. Yeah. And it does. It's just a really cool kind of.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
There you go. There's America.
America.
There she is. And, I think I might have grabbed a 6-pack on my way out today. So I think I saw 2 or 3 more behind me, but that's it. And that was a July 4th release. Mm-hmm. So that should give you some idea of people appreciate that, we always have something new and something different, and it's not going to last. Yeah. And most people want to come to the farm and drink it with us, which promotes drinking more of it. So, it's great. We've got so much diversity in our beer that,
that's cool.
People want to be a part of it. It's really effective.
Yeah. So we've talked several times. Let me undo this screen share, stop share. We've talked on here about, I think there's a couple things. One, demonstration is one of the most powerful forms of copy. Like if you can demonstrate a product, and script that out, whether it's storyboarded out or whatever. Bounty and Charmin and these other companies have been using demonstration for 50, 60 years, and It just keeps working. But the other thing is experiential marketing. And I love that you're talking here about how, and so many of the craft brews do this. They have some acreage, a place that you can go to and experience the beer, experience other people who like craft beers. And we have quite a few right around here, right outside of Austin, where I'm at, that we'll go to. And it's kind of not a farmhouse. The farmhouse is really cool. It actually looks like a house I used to live in. But that kind of being, not just tasting beer, but being completely enveloped by a feel and an experience with other people, and probably some live music, I assume. Yeah. Like all that stuff that's what, one thing I will say about like the South that we don't do well is have these don't have the community gatherings places like the Northeast does. Mm-hmm. Like the Northeast is really good with their pubs and their taverns and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I don't think the South does that as well, unless you count Hardee's on like a Saturday morning or something. Like, I don't know, or maybe Waffle House at 2 a.m.
Yeah, there you go.
But even that
2 a.m. Waffle House, man.
Oh, there's nothing like it. So we're going to the beach.
Smothered and covered, yes.
Yeah, we're going to the beach in a couple of weeks, and my daughter's, because we're in Texas now, there's no Waffle House here. My daughter's so excited to go to Waffle House, so because we're going to Florida. So, but yeah, I love how you can take craft brew and just make it so much bigger of an experience, especially because most craft brew is so local.
Yeah,
that it's like, yeah, we could just go down to wherever, and spend 4 or 5 hours listening to live music and drinking beer and driving home. Yeah. Good plan. Good plan. Right. So yeah, it's cool to be able to work that in. And I think more and more companies are doing that, where you can get the experience. And it's just, now the demand for that is just, like you said, through the roof. Like I heard that this summer is like, it's setting all kinds of records for travel. Like people are just, they gotta get out.
Oh yeah. And I mean, we have tourists come through. We're a tourist destination anyway. I'm sitting here in Virginia Beach, and I'm only a few miles from the North Carolina border, but we're not too far from the Outer Banks. So we have people from all over the place, which is great. We love being able to share that experience with people.
Well, and you have the military crowd that's just always transitioning and coming through. It's mostly Navy, but it's also, there's other bases there as well.
Yeah, Norfolk Naval Base is the largest naval base in the world, and that's here. We have a huge population of military too, and they are excellent customers. That is, that's pretty great too.
Jonathan and I can both attest that, yes, military is a very good alcohol customer for sure. Absolutely. We're both Army, not Navy. So.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I know there's some Army bases in Virginia Beach, because when I was stationed in DC, I would go down to Virginia Beach every once in a while because I had family there.
Yeah.
And there's a couple Army bases, small Army bases down there.
We got everybody. Come on.
Everybody's down there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk specifically. I want to give the people some takeaways. Like, give us a couple examples of how you've used FOMO. Like maybe I know you've talked a little bit about it, but like what's your thought process on how to do that, how to do it respectfully and not, too manipulatively? Because you are manipulating a little bit, but
Right.
to do it with respect and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in the beer. It could be with any client.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think first and foremost, you have to understand when you're writing copy, and I know you both do, people are smart. You have to give them some credit. They know what you're trying to do. You're a salesperson and they know what they're reading.
Right.
If they're reading a newsletter from you, they know that you want them to buy beer. And so I think the easiest way to do that is to steer clear of an ask. I think you don't ask them for anything. I think that you present like you have no expectations and that you're just inviting them to come be with you. And it is, when I say that to people, it really is fairly genuine. Yes, I absolutely want the best for my client. And yes, I want people to, click on that link to go buy beer online. Yes, please. But making it funny is so much more effective than something generic and boring. So I have, I guess, a decent example on our newsletter, and the benefit of selling beer is that, beer is not serious. I can be irreverent. I can be self-deprecating. I can be funny. I can be a little spicier than I would be, with my healthcare clients. So things like, I might stick a graphic in there. Let's say I've got all of our events and then, our new releases, and I need to break it up. I'll stick something in there and the background is all clouds and it's beautiful and the copy on it says you should buy beer online and it's signed God, and people can click on it and go buy beer, and it's a funny, cute something that someone might look at and think, oh, that's cute, I wonder where that goes. So kind of mixing funny, cute imagery with that funny, cute copy is a great way to kind of cut through the crap and just kind of show people, okay, you know what we're doing. You know what this is, but I'm going to make this as entertaining for you as possible. Sure. And they want to participate. It's that FOMO comes right back in of, oh, this is funny. I bet someone else thought this was funny and they went to this link. I should do the same thing. And it's really effective.
So I'm curious because, humor can be tough to pull off in copy sometimes. Images certainly help. How do you know if you've gone too far down clever and not like convincing or enough to get them to, get the click, right? Because ultimately we want to get the click. That's the purpose of the email, is to get them to go wherever we want them to go. Yeah. Do you ever kind of catch yourself like, ooh, that's a little too clever?
Yes. and other people catch me being too clever too. I think it's important to have people around you who will say, people preferably who are not writers, who will say, that's a little edgy. Let's reel that in. And I err on the side of edgy to begin with. I think it's more fun to, just go for it and see what happens. And, being that way, I've eaten it a few times and I have learned. So that helps, very honest feedback helps. That's a good question. I think procrastinating feels really good, but especially with edgier copy, I write it well ahead of time and I sit on it. I really do. Yeah. I will take my time and come up with something I think is cute and clever. And, a few days later, it might not be so cute and clever. So I think it's a good idea to kind of flesh out your thoughts and come back to it. Sit down, have a beer, write your copy. It's going to be hilarious. Read it tomorrow morning. And what does that look like? So that would be my biggest take. And get someone to read it. I think that is the best. I have, my husband will read something and I'll have someone's grandma read something. I think if you're pulling from several different demographics and different kinds of people to kind of look over your shoulder, can't hurt.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That second set of eyes, like having a copy buddy, or something, a Facebook group or something that you can bounce things off of is so valuable for sure. Because we're very proud of our own stuff. That's for sure.
Always. Yeah.
Yes. And our own biases. It's also hard sometimes. I've written copy before that I won't go into the specifics because I'm still too embarrassed. But copy that hurt some feelings that I would never have conceptualized. I never would have thought. It did not even cross my mind, which was The shorts. I mean, that was it. It wasn't great, and so it was good to have other people say, "Hey, from this other perspective, here's how we feel. Here's why that may not have been the most appropriate." And so it's great. Something that you might think is hilarious is going to be deeply offensive to someone else. So having that someone else kind of check you is everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
You said something like treating, you use the word irreverence. It makes me think I mentioned Pete Schlossberg, the guy with Pete's Wicked Ale. Mm-hmm. So I wrote down a quote that he used on our show, and I'm actually looking at it because I have it on a whiteboard, but he said, it was so powerful because that's why I wrote it down, because I look at it all the time in my office, but it says I'm actually reading it right now. It says, treat your product with reverence and everything else with irreverence. So I thought that's really cool. Because he's like, you're obviously, your product is that's your baby. That's what everything centers around, but everything else, like he was like one of the fathers of guerrilla marketing when it comes to craft brewing back in the day. And he was doing all of these things that were just totally went against like what anyone else was doing to get publicity, to get people to, learn more about Pete's Wicked Ale, and even down to the art of the can. Like, I mean, he was one of the first to do this crazy art on the can. Like people are like, whoa, what is that? But it got attention. He did everything to get attention to, his product, which he treated, is like, treat your product with reverence, but everything else is out the door. Like you can just do everything you can to get attention. Right. So
I love that. I might have to adopt that. I will credit him, but I love that. I think that that's exactly how it should be. And I love that I get to highlight this very cool, you get to highlight your product with irreverence.
Yep.
And that fits my lifestyle very well too, which is very handy. I feel like just generally I'm fairly irreverent. And so getting to do that for someone is just the coolest.
That's right.
Getting to just play with copy is rare for a lot of us, who write full time. So getting to do fun stuff with copy about a product that is really good is unique.
So what's your campaign that you're most proud of? Or maybe a tagline or a campaign, kind of whatever. What are you most proud of? And like, that's the first thing you show off when somebody asks.
Oh man, what a great question.
It's the beer talk. It's the beer talking.
It's the beer talking. I do love showcasing, the cans, and I love having people come over and, hey, look at this. It definitely is a fun novelty. But I got to tell you, I wasn't anticipating talking about this, but it's coming to mind. In my freshman year of college, freshly 18, living in a dorm, a shoebox with a girl I didn't know who was super preppy. And it was brand new to me. I was not a part of that culture, and I adored her, and I thought she was so much fun. And I had a boyfriend, and she was a little bit more boy crazy, and I was fascinated by it. And she loved this blog called Tap That Guy. And it was these photos that mostly secret photos women would take of these good looking men. And it was a blog, and it was blowing up and doing super well. And she and I were both in the journalism program and had a lot of interest in marketing and advertising. And week 3, I think we looked at each other and said, let's do Tap That UGA Guy. And we did. And it went nuts.
Sean, I think we were on that site. Do you remember that? I think I vaguely remember us being on that site.
Yeah.
It is funny that I'm most proud of this, but we were 2 18-year-olds who did not disclose who we were, but we were running this blog behind the scenes that by the time we'd been running it for 2 or 3 months, we were getting between 50 and 80,000 hits a week.
Wow.
And that was
cool.
It was unreal. We did it almost to be funny. And then it was serious, and people were participating. And talk about FOMO. Every man boy on campus needed to have his photo taken. And, we were just, it was astronomical. We put Google Analytics on the back end of our website, and we learned Google Analytics. We started, we found sorority group chats and would stick in there, oh my gosh, have you seen this blog? This is hilarious. And just, I will never, I hope
That's
I get to
kind of how
experience.
Facebook started, right? I mean, it was like,
Yeah, hot or not.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Hot or not. Oof, what a time. This was similar time.
Yeah.
Being sitting in the back of a 400-person lecture hall and seeing 80% of the monitors in front of you with your website pulled up and nobody knows it's you. It was
Cool.
it was the most fun ever. It was just so much fun. And we got, talk about fun marketing. And we were doing interviews with, blogs and local publications. And, we really got to dip our toe into that world, before we had responsibility.
So what'd you learn from that? What were the biggest lessons you learned from that?
Being clever with copy there was so important, and being respectful, even though it was a very disrespectful thing that we were doing, being mindful and being inclusive was also really important. And so it was great to kind of observe our audience, understand what they wanted, because I wasn't necessarily attracted to the very preppy boy, but the girls were. And so, I was out there on the UGA buses taking pictures of boys in Vineyard Vines. And it was great. I got to learn about a target audience. I got to really dig into Google Analytics before it really blew up, and got to tout that skill. I had analytics at 18 years old that I got to go out into the world with and kind of showcase this incredible project. And I think I really learned about people's feelings. I mean, it became such a personal thing for people, and they really wanted to participate and kind of be a part of this.
I think that's the key. People like to participate in things like that. You look at like Facebook, how it all started. People started it spread like wildfire. But there's something about people wanting to participate and choose. There's so many ways to do this, whether it's, choosing the best looking guy or the best looking girl, choosing the right beer, choosing whatever, being able, being a part of that and selecting, it's like, I almost think it's like gamification, sort of like in relationships, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess it keeps Tinder and some of these platforms going.
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah. It was a wild ride, and it's fun. I love telling people about it. I used to be really embarrassed.
Sure.
I mean, I thought, what? That was some of the most fun.
So what happened to it? What happened to the site?
Well, we went back and forth on that a lot. We thought, all right, we could pass this along. We could have interns. And we eventually said, all right, we're shutting this down. The mystique behind who we were was also a very big topic of conversation at school, and people wondered, and we had some people come out and say they were us and they weren't. I mean, it was a blast. And so we decided on graduation day that we would say, hey, this is us, and we're done now. This is a fun archive of a weird, silly project we did while we were here, but it was fun. Sure. So we've sunsetted.
How long did you do it? The whole time?
Yes. Short answer is yes. It was very popular our freshman year and our sophomore years, actually. And then I think by, junior, senior, 4 years in, I think people were tired of it and, not as excited, but, it was great. And especially while you're in journalism school and you're learning about ethics and, what it is to be responsible, but then going to these PR and marketing classes that are telling you, ooh, being a little juicy and exciting is great. We were getting photos, unsolicited photos that we should not have gotten, that, girls would take of other boys or of, the football team, the quarterback who is now famous, we're getting pictures of him that I am certain he doesn't know we have. So, having the ethics and the wherewithal, at a fairly young age, not to, be too provocative was also valuable.
So who was the quarterback at that time?
Oh God, I'm worried now. Aaron Murray.
Okay.
Aaron Murray.
Yes.
He's a good one.
I've seen more of Aaron.
You were going to say Matthew Stafford, which I was going to say.
I got there just when Stafford was leaving. He and I almost collided, but didn't. That would have been, what a ride. That would have been exciting.
At least you weren't there in the 90s like we were. which was a terrible time to be there.
Miserable time. Miserable, miserable experience.
The golf years.
Talking about fear of missing out. I mean, we missed out every year, right? I mean,
yeah, that's crazy, crazy stuff. Well, Megan, what I want to give the listener some tips. So, like, what are your top 3 pieces of advice or tips, hacks, whatever you want to call them? Whether they're a business owner, copywriter, whatever, like that they could apply, whether it's related to FOMO or not. But like, what's your little tidbits of wisdom?
Oh man, what a great question. I want to give something that's things that are very, very specific.
Bonus points if it comes in the form of like an acronym or something.
Oh God, I don't know about that.
Or alliterated. Either
I've
way.
got one. FOMO. That's an acronym. I already.
Perfect.
There you go. All right. So here's the challenge. You got to give 4 tips, and you got to use the acronym FOMO. So the first one starts with F.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. It might be to cleverly skirt around FOMO. Okay.
Doesn't have to relate to FOMO. We're going to use FOMO as the acronym.
The acronym.
So
okay.
F.
Okay.
I got a song in my head that would work.
Oh, I'm envious.
Why don't you start the first letter, Sean, since you
free your mind.
I love that. I love that.
Free your mind and the rest will follow.
Didn't you guys promise no hard questions?
No, I did. Jonathan may have, but I did not. We always keep one person open.
Oh man.
The questions get harder the longer we drink. So I think
that's fair. All right. God, we'll better.
And you don't have to worry about the answers because the listenership drops off.
Oh, perfect. Oh, good. Okay, good. No one's listening.
So we got free your mind, right? So that was kind of the be disrespectful, be clever.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go with that. So
yeah. Thank you.
What's a word for I love this experience thing. We got to come up with something for that.
Yeah.
Experience. We talk so much about that.
I know, and it really is.
Free your mind. So we'll go with O. How about own? We'll start with own. Own. What would you own?
You're doing this for me. This is great. Thank you so much. Talk about a copywriting buddy. This is really, I need this all the time.
Own the what? Own what?
Oh man. You know what? This is decent advice. Own your copy. I think that it's really easy to backtrack and say, oh, well, I meant this, and I can go back and edit. I think if you say, all right, this is what I meant, and this is how it was intended, and this is why I think it was effective or is going to be effective, take feedback. I absolutely believe in receiving feedback, but owning what you've written and defending it to a point is valuable, especially to a client who might not know otherwise. I think telling them, hey, no, I think this is a good idea, and you're allowed to disagree with me and tell me why, but here's what I feel, and here's what these look like.
And I think depending on, because I've had this situation too, so depending on how strongly you feel about it, how how to push that battle.
Totally.
But there's no doubt, like the stuff that everybody is a little scared to go with is probably what's going to work the best. Like that just gets proven over and over. If you do split test and, you got 3 choices, everybody's pretty comfortable with 2. And that third choice, they're like, I don't know. That seems a little, as long as it's not offensive or something like that. But even if it is sometimes, a lot of times that'll be the winner, because if you're scared of it, then a lot of other people have been scared to run it, which means it's going to break through the noise.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
I mean, Jim Rutt's, famous financial copywriter, one of his famous headlines was "Read this or die," which is like, that's pretty back, especially back then when he wrote it. That was very, very bold.
No kidding.
And something like that would still work. All right, so free your mind.
I've got one for M.
Own your copy. What is M?
M is make it fun.
Hey, that's good.
No one wants to read boring copy, and I think it takes a special person to, write exciting copy about cardboard boxes or about mattresses or about car insurance. You know, when you look at the most successful campaigns for things, it's wacky stuff. It's stuff that you wouldn't think is interesting, but it is, because the copy's strong and the copy's good and it's fun. People want to engage with fun. So I think anything that you're doing, you know, unless it's a terribly sad story. Now I'm thinking about people that I've interviewed, and it would not be okay to make it fun, but you know, in the scope of what's appropriate, have fun with it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned car insurance. Like, I think probably the most successful campaign right now is probably Progressive with Flow. And the whole cast of characters that they've developed around that. You know, it's like its own little mini sitcom.
Oh yeah.
Like you got the different characters. You've got the moody girl. You've got the kind of the unexpected successful guy in Jamie. Yeah. You've got Flo. You've got, I mean, it's like this whole cast of characters that you kind of start getting to know, and it's like they have their own lives going on outside of insurance. You know, I love the one that's like beach day and they're all like just hanging out, and Flo can't resist herself because she's got to go talk about insurance. Like, it's like, cause you can see yourself doing that, right? You can see yourself. I'm on vacation. I'm not going to talk about work. I'm not going to talk about copy.
Yep.
And I hear this little side conversation. It's like, I can help you with that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's great. Like having fun, make it fun.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing to a group of entrepreneurs who are starting their own business right now, physical products, and I was kind of saying the same thing. Like, people want to be entertained.
Yeah.
They want to be entertained. That's some of the biggest industry, gaming, movies. Like, people are looking for outlets. So if you can just kind of make it fun, make it entertaining, you're halfway there, right? Because now you've got their attention.
Yeah.
You know, and you could kind of subliminally almost slip the message in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Because I think that's fairly new. I don't know how long that's been. I know it's been in campaigns for a long time, but it's getting more kind of overt now, I think, with entertaining things. So free your mind, own your copy, make it fun. Now we need another O.
Well, this one's a stretch, but
it's all right.
But go with me on this journey. Open a podcast.
Okay.
Open a podcast.
Falls in line here, but I have people ask me all the time, okay, when you're having a creativity block, or you just feel like there's messaging that's not flowing, what do you do? And everybody has different answers. And mine truly is listening to a comedic podcast. I will find a podcast with two comedians who just riff back and forth, and every time.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's through osmosis. I swear they get right in there and your brain just starts firing. So listen to something that is quick and interesting and funny. And even if that's not the direction you need to go with your copy, every time my creative juices get going.
I think that's a great tip, because whether it's a YouTube video or, I mean, I love, it's the one, they always film it in Idaho, I think.
Idaho.
I can't remember the name of that group, but the comedy is so good. And there's something about comedians that, like, they can peer into the pop culture's soul, right? They just notice things that other people miss. And that's really what copy is too. It's like, you got to be able to tap into the current psyche and current, dominant worldview of the time. And nobody does that better than comedians. So if you can riff off of that, I agree.
And they're irreverent. So that falls in line with, being treating everything with irreverence.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that was a cool, painful exercise.
Yes, it was.
I'd mentioned this to Sean last week. I was driving I was in Nashville, and I looked over and saw this billboard that says, I actually snapped a picture of it, but it says 100% of boring ads don't matter. So that falls in line. I was going to add that to your fun, make it fun thing, because if you're not fun, people won't remember you. There's a couple of books, if you haven't read them, there's one's called it's called the Hype Handbook, especially for for the brewing company would be perfect. And then, one that Sean and I have talked about on this show, Ryan Holiday, who's, he did the book, Trust Me, I'm Lying. That's like really good in terms of like opening up your market or your followers or the people that are, interested in what you have to offer, like really gaining their attention, like, and getting media attention too. That's huge. I'm sure especially for craft brewing,
Oh yeah.
Getting free publicity.
Yep.
It is.
All right. A couple rapid fire questions. Jonathan, if you want to be thinking of some too, I'm going to go.
Okay.
We don't usually do this, but you seem like you're game for it. So,
Oh no.
All right. So let's do,
we can't keep her too long. She's got to pick up her child.
I was going to say, I do. I have a hard stop at 5:50, but we're good.
Okay.
We're good until she'll be walking in the door at 5:50.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get her on there too. No, we're wrapping up.
Love that.
All right. So I'm going to ask you 3 favorites. And we'll just give me kind of your first response. So favorite movie all time.
Oh, it's a horrible answer. Ninja Assassin.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
It's great.
That's out of the blue.
On in the background, and it's a lot. It's attention grabbing. I need attention grabbing. So that's my short answer.
Okay.
Ninja
Favorite
Assassin. Who was in that Ninja Assassin?
Great question. I have no idea. It is extremely gory. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot, but it's one I just keep going back to. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
That's interesting.
I know.
All right.
It's like one my teens would love. Okay.
Take that to your therapist. Yeah, take that to your therapist. All right. So favorite podcast? Second favorite podcast.
Right. Of course. I listen to The Dollop very often. It's 2 comedians and they talk about a historical event. One actually feeds the other the full story and the other has never heard the story before. And it's his live reaction and it's great. I love it.
Interesting.
That does sound cool.
Yeah.
All right. And favorite book, business or otherwise, doesn't have to be business. It could be anything. Favorite book.
Favorite book. Oh man, this one is especially tough. A generic answer with this one, which is hopefully will balance out my Ninja Assassin response. The Alchemist.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a
I
classic.
love that book. I've read it several times. My copy is very well annotated, so we'll go with that. The Alchemist.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
a classic. Do you like allegories in general? Like
Yeah,
that kind
I do.
of stories with a point type thing?
Oh yeah, I do. And I also like sci-fi and weird, fantasy. Again, make it flashy. I need the big entertainment stuff. So yeah.
So I'll tell you a series I just discovered 2 or 3 nights ago on Amazon Prime. It's called Solos.
Oh.
And it's one actor, so it's almost like a one-man play type thing.
Oh.
And it's different dialogue, but it's very like you kind of have to like human nature type things and writing and that kind of stuff because it's kind of goes in like it's not something you can have on the background. Like you kind of have to watch it because it gets but there's like 8 episodes in the first season and they're all like famous actors doing it, so it's good quality acting, but it really kind of dives into the nuance and the hopes and fears and dreams of humans, which I think is copywriters like stuff that we thrive on. And it's pretty well written. There's some cheesy parts and there's some that like there's some one-liners that you're just like, oh, that's so good, from a writing perspective. Yeah, so it's called Solos and it's on Amazon Prime. So
well, I actually have a question for the 2 of you.
Okay.
Along that vein, have you ever watched a show and thought, oh, I wish I'd written that, or I could have done this? And what is it?
So my all-time favorite movie for all kinds of reasons is The Princess Bride, which is probably not what people would expect, but it is so well written.
Yeah.
And there's just enough humor and entertainment and like everything going on. Like to me, it's like one of the, like a perfect movie, which, I mean, it's been around forever. Like it's, and what's crazy is like the book is exactly word for word the same as the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like you can literally take the book and read along with the entire movie because there's a narrator in the movie and there's like, it's kind of weird.
That's my wife. That's her favorite for sure.
So, yeah, my top 3 favorite movies are Fight Club, Inception, and The Princess Bride. All for different reasons, but
I'm not sure about movie, but to your question, Megan, if I could write something, it would be, because I'm kind of a sci-fi. I've got that sci-fi vibe, kind of like you. And one of my all-time favorite shows, which is actually kind of cheesy when you watch them now, but they're X-Files. I don't know if you ever got into that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
like the original.
like
X-Files.
the original X-Files. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
the 90s X-Files.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mulder and Scully.
Scully,
So some of those were so like you watch them. Some of them have like elements of humor in them that are like intentionally designed to be cheesy and humorous at the same time, even at that time. But they were all very creative at the time.
So I'll give you a throwback. Jonathan, you may remember. Megan, you probably don't. And I keep wondering why nobody's brought this sitcom back. Moonlighting.
Oh, Bruce Willis. Yeah.
That had some of the best like dialogue, like back and forth. It was Bruce Willis and can't remember who that was. She was famous. Like she was a very popular actress in her day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that show, like the banter between those two, they would talk over the top of each other all the time, like a real argument.
Yep.
Was just so good. And I'm like, I cannot believe that has not either made it to the big screen or been brought back as a sitcom. That just boggles my mind that nobody's done that. So Moonlighting, that's a oldie, but it's showing our age here, Jonathan.
Yeah, that was like that's before Die Hard, man. You're talking way before Die Hard.
Yeah, that was before he made it to the big screen. That was a small screen stuff. So, well,
all right.
Man.
Well, I think we've answered all the questions and we have posted all the questions. So
yeah,
I think we have come to a wrap. So Megan, thanks for joining us today. It's been really fun, really entertaining. Sean's got the little ticker up there with how they can find more about you. So what's the best place to find if somebody's listening, not watching the show?
If that's not right, what is that?
Yeah, if he misspelled it and that's not even right. How can people find out more about you?
That's right. York Street Creative. I'm fortunate to have married into a unique last name. So if you Google Megan Goldwasser, I am there, which is very convenient. YorkStreetCreative.com is a great place to find me. My Instagram is also York Street Creative. Cool. And I'll see you if you're there. For sure.
Right. Absolutely.
All right.
We'll be posting a link and we'll shoot you a link to the show on once we publish. This will be published on Monday. Awesome. So I'll be sending you a link. Thanks for coming on, and we've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. This was
thanks for the beer too. That's awesome. We would love to sample, and we will actually do a review of what is it? Bay? What is it again? Bay.
Back
Bay. Yeah. Well, we will do a review.
Excited. Good. Bring it on. I will
do an honest review too.
Good.
Yeah.
No lame.
Good.
No paid promotionals. We do honest reviews on this show. So.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Megan. Take care. Have a great weekend. We enjoyed it.